on this station.
Welcome to BizTechTalk. I'm Darrel Bowman, your IT professional.
And I'm Mel West, your business advisor. Thank you for joining us today and every Tuesday from noon to 1 for BizTechTalk, where we are hosting discussions with local and national business leaders.
Hey, throughout our show, we're going to be talking to a variety of high-tech professionals and business professionals about the latest technology and business trends which are happening today and coming tomorrow. And, well, last week we had a pretty good show all about security, and that was kind of interesting because there's a lot of security out there that people just don't understand. And we're talking about encrypting your over-the-wire transmissions and how, important that is to making sure your business stays alive.
For some of us, it might have been cryptic.
Yeah, well, it's a very positive thing out there. So that was an awesome show. And, as always, we want to make sure that people understand that, Mel and I are always out there thinking about our veterans. And, hey, with the 4th of July coming up here and just our nation's birthday coming to, just tomorrow.
Well, this is probably my third favorite holiday of the year, followed closely
by your birthday.
behind. No, actually, Veterans Day and Memorial Day, where we remember and honor the veterans that provided us our freedom.
Exactly, and this is the birth of our nation, and we're really proud that today's our day, and we're going to be down on the waterfront tomorrow, where Clay 1180 is going to be having a booth on the water, celebrating Freedom Fair. So come down, join us, get yourself, make some comments, see what's going on down there, and support the community. If not, this could be the last Freedom Fair that we ever see if we don't get down there and make sure that we're supporters.
Yep, and it's important to get out there, support your community, and recognize the freedom that we have and the differences that our great country provides.
And again, for our veterans, those people that have made everything possible for us, we've got to get out there and think about them in every way possible. We've got to reduce that unemployment, and we've got to get them into full employment. So if there's a job, if there's a service, if there's a product that you need to buy, seek out a service disabled or a veteran-owned business, and try to do business with those individuals. And then if you need a position filled, find a veteran. They've been working at getting stuff done.
Well, speaking of seeking out veterans and stuff, one of the things the WDVA site at dva.wa.gov has a lot of different links for hiring veterans and seeking out veterans. And there's a couple things coming up next week. There's actually a way for service-disabled business owners to work with the GSA and find out a little bit more about getting on their scheduling. But WorkSource wants to connect you with the veterans and stuff, and they've got a Heroes to Hired program.
And we've actually had them on the show.
And so it's another way for you to go out and find skill sets and that are necessary for your business. And then also remember the tax credits that are out there. That's another important thing because there are
almost $10,000 from $5,000 to $10,000 for hiring a vet. Now, that's a pretty significant chunk of change that you can get off your taxes.
Exactly. And so, as a veteran, a veteran-owned business, or even a business owner that's looking to hire, go to dva.wa.gov and look at the resources that they can provide you.
And also, there is, as we spoke last week, Goodwill is doing a job fair coming up here very shortly. So look for at tacomagoodwill.org. Look for their notices and find out what's going on, because there's lots of opportunity there, not just for the veterans, but for our youth as well. So, place to go there and see what you can do to help out.
And then for our veteran-owned businesses and disabled-owned veterans, there's the Washington Procurement Technical Assistance Center, and they provide no-cost technical assistance to businesses wanting to do business with federal, state, and local governments. So they'll provide that service, and that's one of the things that's coming up with the GSA.
Yeah, and don't forget the small business development centers out of all the different, there's several of them throughout the community and technical colleges in your neighborhood. Too many to list, but right there, the SBDCs will be able to help you. And guide you through your business development, business creation, and through the nurturing and growing your business into a very successful organization.
Well, and nurture and growing is great, and that probably leads us right into what we're going to be talking about today is buying and selling your business.
Yeah, finding out what your business is worth. How do you know what it's worth? I mean, we go out there, we develop a business, and we realize that, gosh, I wonder how much this thing is worth. I wonder how much money I should value my business at. And people don't have a clue what a business is, the value is, and how to go about doing that. And today, our guest is going to give us a little bit of insight into doing that. Richard Parker, he founded Diomo Corporation in 1990. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes when we come back from the break. But we want to make sure that, Richard tells us all we need to know. So,
I'm Mel West, your business advisor.
And I'm Darrel Bowman, your IT professional.
And we'll be right back. You're listening to Clay 1180.
CloudSway removes the hassle of small business financial management. Easily upload receipts, bills, invoices, POs, and other business expenses through your mobile device, email, or scanner. CloudSway automatically scans your data and matches each transaction to your bank and credit cards. Invite staff to send their corporate receipts, allowing the team to contribute and collaborate, managing all company financial data in one location. CloudSway's reports and alerts help to guard against fraud and expense abuse. CloudSway makes it easy to protect your company's most prized possession, its financial security. Visit cloudsway.com.
Are you tired of maintaining or upgrading your business technology year after year just to keep up? Moore's Law states technology will keep getting faster and smaller year after year. Office N and Icon is making Moore's Law obsolete by giving you infinite computing power. It's always new with unlimited resources. It's fast, affordable, secure, reliable, and flexible with endless CPU, RAM, and hard drive. Never worry about a virus, upgrades, backups, or patches again. With Office N and Icon, your office is anywhere at any time from any device. Unleash your power at OfficeNandIcon.com.
Few things say more about your business than the quality of the photos in your ads and on your website. Corporate photographer Rick Doms specializes in custom photography for discriminating corporations around the world and right here in Tacoma. Rick's photos have graced the pages of Forbes, Fortune, Barron's, the Wall Street Journal, and the marketing materials of a host of great American companies. Companies like yours. See what Rick Doms photography can do for your business on the web at rickdoms.com. RICKDAHMS.com.
AimBiz.com brings you the life of a business website. The majority of business websites can't be found by search engines, so their owners lose customers and money. An AIM Business website wins new customers on Google and Facebook. Imagine your website with great content management, an integrated blog, clean designs, and clear messages. To top it off, at AimBiz.com, you get a free website design mock-up before you ever spend a dime. For more information, go to AimBiz.com. That's AIMBIZ.com.
Hey, welcome back to BizTechTalk. I'm Darrel Bowman, your IT professional. I'm here with
Mel West, your business advisor.
Hey, we're here every week on Clay 1180 from Tuesday noon to 1. Don't forget to visit us at BizTechTalk.net. Listen to our shows, download our podcast. Hey, and we're on YouTube and Google, and where else are we?
Facebook.
Facebook and
find us
everywhere.
out there on Facebook.
Yeah, so give us out there and friend us, or what do they do there? Yeah, they're. We yeah, you want to like us. That's what that is. Yeah. Like us, yeah. So, but hey, if you got any comments or suggestions about new topics, don't forget to email us at info@biztechtalk.net. And today, like I said before the break, we're talking to Richard Parker, who founded Diomo Corporation in 1990. He's been involved in buying and selling businesses as an owner, a broker, consultant, and investor for more than 20 years. He's personally purchased 11 businesses and has sold 9 of them. So he's still running a couple of them. And since 2001, his company is focused on providing educational materials and consulting services to business buyers and sellers. He's the author of How to Buy a Good Business at a Great Price. It's a series which covers each step of the business buying process and is sold in more than 80 countries. He's also an avid hockey fan and a river fisherman. So welcome to this show, Richard.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me. That's quite a. I hope I could live up to that bio. Sounds great.
Oh, and Richard, yeah, welcome. And for
you.
Somebody that's coming from Fort Lauderdale playing hockey,
Yep.
We find that kind of interesting since it's 90 degrees down there, and we're up here getting some of this great Seattle sunshine.
Exactly. It's kind of interesting that you would be at 90 degrees and I want to play hockey.
It's
So-
like that, I guess that Jimmy Buffett song where he talks about it's 20 degrees and the hockey game's on and sort of the whole world's upside down, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm Florida and playing hockey. What could I tell you?
But I really want to get right to it. We've got a short period of time in our 45 minutes left in the show to talk a little bit about what it is that you do best, and that's buying and selling businesses. So, I was looking on your website, and we've looked at your course outline. So I'm going to go a little bit down that and find out a little bit more about, why buy a business, and what do people want to consider when they do?
Well, I could spend more than 45 minutes making a very compelling case for why anybody wants to buy a business. But clearly, I think the economy that we find ourselves in now and have been for the last several years is indication enough that while there are some small business owners, like many others, that are having some difficulty, the only time that you really have any type of job security is if you own the business and you know what's going on with your job. Just look at the millions of unemployed people, probably a good percentage of them hardworking, sincere, honorable, loyal, trustworthy employees, and just something happened with it completely out of their control, and presto, they find themselves unemployed. And so, in the most, let's say, macro terms, if you will, I'm just a huge believer that if you go through life, you're far better off to go through life controlling your own destiny at every possible step. And if you're going to have a career, the only time that you're going to have any job security is when you own the business and know what's really going on.
And we believe in that as well. Both Mel and I are business owners as well. We also understand that those people that have lost their jobs are, in this economy, they're many times accidental entrepreneurs. It wasn't through no fault of their own, but now to survive and get forward, they have done what you said, started a business, but that really means finding the right business. What business do you want to find that's right for you? So tell me, how do they discover that? How does someone go about doing that?
Well, the first thing is, what I try to tell people is, unless you have a ton of money, which most people don't.
Not if you're an accidental professional entrepreneur.
Absolutely. What you don't want to do is be delusional. In other words, for example, you get a lot of people say, I've always had dreams of owning a bed and breakfast, or, in my case, a fishing lodge or what have you. Well, or a fishing store, whatever it is. People have, or I love to cook, so maybe I'm going to open up a restaurant. Those attributes are not criteria for determining what type of business is right for you, because whatever the underlying theme is, whatever it is that you do best, in other words, your single best skill from a professional standpoint has to be the driving factor of the revenue and profits of any business you consider purchasing. So in other words, a business has to marry what a business needs most to succeed, has to marry perfectly to your greatest skill set. And a business cannot suffer from your weaknesses. Unlike a job where you may go through an interview, process and you can embellish your skills a little bit in order to get the job, you're only fooling yourself if you try to convince yourself that you're good at something you're not, when you're going to take the keys to a new business or keys to a business to take over. Yeah, it has to be whatever it is that you do best has to be the single most important driving factor of the revenue and profits of any business you consider purchasing.
Now, Richard, when you're working with somebody that's looking to purchase a business, is there something that you take them through so that they can evaluate what their skill sets are and what would be a good job or purchase for them?
Well, absolutely, and that's a great question. In the materials that we provide people, there is a whole section on choosing the right business, and we also do profiling in many cases with people, taking them through to determine not only what business types that they may be good at, but also those that they should stay away from. And oftentimes we are not, we tend to either be overly harsh critics of ourselves or not harsh enough. In other words, when we look at ourselves, we tend to think, that we're really bad at something, or we think we're better at something than we really are. And so oftentimes it really takes a third party to be able to look at your skill set or analyze what it is that you've done, what your experience is, where you've had successes in career, where you've had failures. And quite often, people who don't want to go through that whole process of profiling, if you will, and it's not, by no means an exact science, it just puts people on the right path. The easiest thing is people should be sitting down and speaking with coworkers or former bosses or former employees and ask them to give them a real evaluation of what they think their skill set is. Obviously, you don't want to be sitting with your current boss and telling them.
Oh no, obviously not. Especially if you're one of those accidental entrepreneurs.
Right. But it's someone that you've had experience with in a work environment who's going to answer honestly. And oftentimes a spouse or a partner can do that very well. Because again, we either have a tendency to be overly harsh or not harsh enough on ourselves, and we want to make sure that not only we match up our strengths, but we. A business, our weaknesses can't allow the business to suffer.
Now you talk about 10 commandments of business. Can you run by those real quick and why they're important?
Yeah, let me pick out a couple of them, which I think are very important because they all have real good discussion points. But one of them, which lends itself to strengths and weaknesses, and we were just talking, is commandment number 4, which we talked about, which is fall in love with the profit, not the product.
I like that one.
Okay, and that's really important, and I use the example very often in seminars or, other interviews like this and say, someone happens to be a dog lover, okay, and they think that, well, I'm going to open up a puppy store, okay, well, they're going to buy a puppy store. Well, they have no experience in retail. They have no experience dealing with the public. They don't know what it's like to market, but they have this love of dogs, so they're going to buy a puppy store. And they buy the puppy store, and after a little while, the business starts to decline and decline and decline, simply because they don't have the skills to operate that particular type of business. Well,
but they got a lot of puppies.
Well, they got a lot of puppies, and I can tell you one thing. After a little while of not making any money, they're going to hate puppies. Okay, they're going to learn to hate dogs because it's they've bought a business. They fell in love with the product as opposed to the profit. Where oftentimes people go to meet with sellers and they look at the business and they start getting all these wide-eyed and blue-skied and delusional ideas about all these wonderful things that they're going to do with the business when they take it over. Where the fact of the matter is that most sellers have probably tried any number of those things that this the individual thinks that they're going to suddenly introduce as revolutionary, and they start again falling in love with the product of the business rather than the profit. And it's for that reason that I tell people, my preference has always been, and I've owned a lot of businesses, I always like businesses that fly under the radar. They're bland, boring, unsexy, but they throw off a lot of money. Because ultimately, if you get yourself into the right business, all the things that you want to do in life, you'll be able to accomplish and deliver a good quality of life as a result of the profit of the business, not the product. Of course, you have to be proud of it, and you don't want to be involved in any business that you're not going to be proud of what it is that you do or what it is that the company sells or the service you provide. But it's the profit that has to be the focus. Not
how is that in conflict or in complement to your commandment 5? What do you do? What you do best, and you'll manage the rest.
Because anything related to a business, if a business needs, for example, some business needs marketing to thrive, other businesses need sales, other businesses need some of them. There's a combination of all of it, but there's always one single aspect of the business that really generates the revenue and profits of the business, and it can be this, the actual sales process or the owner being out and generating connections with people in the community. It could be that it could be a distribution business where in order for it to succeed, the owner of the business has to be in the marketplace, speaking to suppliers, securing product lines for distribution on an exclusive basis, and so PR and good handshaking and being somewhat of a good politician are the key attributes that a seller has to bring to the business. And so you're really not in conflict at all. What it means is whatever again that the business needs to really thrive. Yes, it does need sales and it does need marketing, and there's all these individual disciplines that every business needs, but it generally comes down to one specific component that really leads to the success of that particular business. And for example, let's say it happens to be in marketing. Okay, if you're not an expert in marketing and that's what the business needs, you're not going to succeed. No matter how many people you try to bring in, if that's where in small business the owner has to wear the hat of the most important component of the business that drives the revenue and profits of that business.
And how do you go about finding out which is that most important component for the business that you purchase or the one that you're going to go into?
Now there's a great question, because oftentimes people will miss that, and so that comes through the analysis and the due diligence of the investigation of a business and understanding why is it that people buy from this company? What is it that makes the phone ring? And in some cases, why isn't the phone ringing over the last few years? I read an article on your site which I thought was really great and was talking about I think the title was Communication Begins with a Good or a Great Job Description. It was a recent interview, I guess, that you guys had done. And there was a great analogy between whoever the author was or whoever you may have been interviewing for that and buying and selling a business, because they were talking about the fact that some employees that may have lost favor in the eyes of the boss may have done so, or they're underperforming, may have done so because of a lack of a job description. I think that's the way you guys had talked about it, right?
Exactly, yeah. And a lot of times, small businesses, they don't have job descriptions, so they really don't know what they're doing, even the business owners. And that's one of the things when I'm working with business owners is to say, hey, in order for your business to be successful, what do your job descriptions look like? And that's part of that overall organizational development that we really strive to focus on.
So when you're talking about buying a business or whatever, how do you go about thinking? So you've decided that you're going to, now you're a puppy broker or something like that. Let's just say you're going to go out there and you're getting organized and so forth. How do you go about buying a business and evaluating that business? So do you go to a business broker? Do you think about a franchise? What's your option?
There's a lot of options. There's no hard data within the business for sale industry, but it's estimated that business brokers are responsible for around 10% of the sales transaction of all small businesses. And so what that means is 90% transact in other ways. Business brokers play a role. They typically, they don't represent the buyer unless you're paying a broker. They work very differently than what the average person knows is, from a real estate transaction or a real estate broker. Business broker represent the seller. More often than not, they are not going to provide you with any advice. They can't, but they will help you get access to businesses that are listed for sale, and they can be a very positive and helpful buffer between the parties, because oftentimes the buyer and seller are negotiating. It helps to have a third party involved who's not an attorney and who can bridge the gap between the two parties, because when you take over business, you're going to need that seller to help train you, and you don't want to be getting into all kinds of arguments with them before you even get the keys to the place. So a business broker can really be a very useful buffer between the two.
Speaking of buffers and gaps, why don't we take a quick break here and pay a few bills, and then when we come back, we can jump back into this and talk a little bit more about determining that value.
Oh, awesome. So thanks. I'm Darrel Bowman, your IT professional.
And I'm Mel West, your business advisor, and you're listening to Clay 1180. We'll be right back.
CloudSway removes the hassle of small business financial management. Easily upload receipts, bills, invoices, POs, and other business expenses through your mobile device, email, or scanner. CloudSway automatically scans your data and matches each transaction to your bank and credit cards. Invite staff to send their corporate receipts, allowing the team to contribute and collaborate, managing all company financial data in one location. CloudSway's reports and alerts help to guard against fraud and expense abuse. CloudSway makes it easy to protect your company's most prized possession, its financial security. Visit cloudsway.com.
In today's economy, doing more with less has become the standard. Feeling overwhelmed or out of control does not have to be part of that standard. If you are looking for improved profitability and better teamwork, West Business Concepts' expertise in sales, organizational development, and finance offers real-world solutions today. West Business Concepts helps you develop clarity and focus on who matters most. Gain an edge over your competition. Visit westbusinessconcepts.com today. That's westbusinessconcepts.com.
I know you've been thinking about adding video to your website. Don't put it off any longer. Your customers are about 75% more likely to purchase your product after learning about it in a video. Gabe Medina Productions is ready to help you put a face to your business and show your customers why your company is the better choice. We want to work with you because we want to see your business grow. Go to GabeMedinaProductions.com or call 206-250-0735 for more info. That's 206-250-0735.
Be a part of Tacoma's Waterfront Association, a dynamic organization dedicated to making Tacoma's waterfront a great place to visit and do business. Join them the second Wednesday of each month from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Crow's Nest at the Tacoma Yacht Club to hear exciting guest speakers and see what's happening on the waterfront. Be a part of the community strength. Make a difference along Tacoma's magnificent 46 miles of waterfront. For more information or to become a member of the Tacoma Waterfront Association, visit tacomawaterfront.org.
In Pierce County, 17% of residents are food insecure. That's 1 in 6 people who are unsure where their next meal is coming from. Someone you know is going hungry. What can you do about it? Help support Fish Food Banks of Pierce County. For every dollar received, Fish's 8 food bank locations can distribute $7 worth of food to families in need. To learn more about stopping hunger here in Pierce County, go to fishfoodbanks.org. That's fishfoodbanks.org.
Hey, welcome back to BizTechTalk. I'm Darrel Bowman here with
Mel West, your business advisor.
and we're here on Clay 1180 every Tuesday noon to 1. Don't forget, we're at biztechtalk.net and listen to our shows, download our podcasts and everything at iTunes, and we're at Facebook and YouTube and all those other places out there. And don't forget, today we're talking to Richard
Parker from
Excuse
Diomo.
me. Yeah, from Diomo, excuse me. And when we left, we were talking about buying businesses and business brokering and so forth. But now we're thinking about business valuation. And, Richard, tell us a little bit about business valuation. How do you value your business and arrive at your business value and or the business value of one that you may be purchasing?
Okay, well, as you can imagine, it's a pretty broad subject, and the first thing that everyone needs to understand is that valuation is an art. This is not a science. If you were to take 50 certified business appraisers, put them in a room, give them the financials for one particular business, I will guarantee you that you get 50 different valuations. Some will be close, but again, it's an art. It's not scientific, and so there is a couple of points to keep in mind. Typically, what a business owner thinks that their business is worth very rarely has anything to do with the value of the business. And the old adage of a business is worth whatever a buyer is willing to pay and a seller is willing to accept, that's actually the value of a business, because it is a moving target, and no two businesses are the same. They're like living, breathing entities. It's not like buying a house where there's two homes side by side in a cookie-cutter development and the market sets the price and they're all going to be within a couple % of each other. Businesses are living, breathing entities, and no two can be compared. You can for argument's sake, but you can't really for the actual guts of the business. And so comparables don't even really work for the most part in businesses being sold in rules of thumb. But let me give you some broad parameters, and you guys jump in at any time, please. And we're talking mostly about small businesses, service-oriented business. If you take a look at decades worth of transactions and businesses that are typically generating under $500,000 of what we call owner benefits, which is the collection or the aggregate amount of what the owner puts in their pocket between their salary and their benefits or what have you during the course of a year, businesses are going to sell anywhere between typically, again, 1 to 3 times that number.
Okay.
So a business where the owner benefit is $300,000, that business will sell anywhere from $300,000 to $900,000, typically, depending on the fundamentals of the business.
Excellent. And so how do they know which to go to the 3 or the 900?
Great. I was hoping you were going to ask that question. Okay, so I'm going to give you I'm going to give you the $300,000 version and the $900,000 version. Okay. When someone is looking to buy a business, and the same thing holds true when someone is looking to sell, the most important thing for a buyer has to be the sustainability of that profit. In other words, even if they've got a good amount of experience and the right skill set for a particular business, they want to know that when they buy that business, that all things, as long as all things remain status quo, that the historical numbers are going to continue after they take over as the owner. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Now, keeping that in mind, how well that business will transition to a new owner is also important. So if you take a look at a business where the assets of the business leave every afternoon at 5 o'clock when the seller locks the door. In other words, the owner is the business. And in small businesses, that's quite common. And that could be anything from a pool service business. It could be a service business, or an accounting practice, a dental practice, any type of business where, even in a distribution business where the seller's been doing it for 25 years and all of the clients, or the majority of them, have become good friends of that seller, where theoretically the seller is the business, or there's an issue related to customer concentration, or there's a reason or any number of them to believe that the sustainability of that profit may not continue. There's nothing in life is guaranteed, but
and Richard, you make
a risk.
You make a great point there, where the seller is the business, and this is one of the challenges that when I'm working with businesses, to really look at how do you build or sustain or get a business, your management team to surround you and actually be able to run the business so that you can get out and do the things that are most important to the business. And that'll also falls right in line with being able to sell the business for more.
So you can put it on an autopilot, as you would say.
That's right, and a lot of people, either for a lack of ability to delegate or being cheap, wanting to keep all the money for themselves, or not being able to afford it, they don't put the proper people into place. But we have a huge advantage today because you could replace what would normally be $30, $40, $50, $60,000 a year salaried people for certain functions with technology. And so, what I always tell the owners when I'm working with prospective business sellers, and I always ask the question, and I always request and suggest that buyers ask this question to every seller: what happens if you get hit by a Pepsi truck tomorrow? What happens to the business? And if they can't say that with reasonable certainty that the business is going to continue, or someone can step in with a short period of training and run that business, they don't have a very saleable business. Now, it may sell, but that's going to be much closer to that 1x multiple versus a business where, they've got a proven track record, they've they've got consistent sales, consistent or increasing sales and increasing profit. They've got a, wide, diverse customer base. There's good opportunities for growth, etc. That is the business that will sell much more towards that, that 3x number or at, and sometimes greater than that number. And the question that you just asked, as far as, having people in place and people, systems in place, so much of that, those are the fundamentals of a business. And, if you can't transition that business to somebody, if the seller is the business, if they don't have everything written down, they don't have an operating manual, so to speak, for that business, if it won't transition to a broad pool of buyers, or there isn't a broad pool of prospective people that could own that business, that's going to hurt the multiple. Ultimately, while running that business, it's going to hurt your business.
The other thing is that that's the same thing you want to do when you purchase a business as well. So you're going to be looking at all these factors to figure out exactly how much you want to pay for that. And then there's the negotiation that comes in play as well, right?
Absolutely. I tell prospective business buyers and owners of businesses that are thinking about selling, say, I never buy a business myself personally. I never buy a business with the idea of selling it. I know that's going to happen in its own due course. I run the business to make it successful. But you have to operate your business with the idea that it could be up for sale tomorrow. If you do that, that will automatically incentivize you to put on all the proper systems in place, policies, procedures, and tracking and mechanisms, so that it makes it very easy for someone to come in, take the keys to the business, and operate it. Obviously, they have to have the right skill set, but you understand what I'm saying, which is, run the business like you have to sell it.
Richard, that's a very interesting point there, because a lot of times, we say start the business with the end in mind, and so your succession plan is already built in. But we know that most business owners don't do that, and only until it becomes time where they're worn out, or they just don't want to do it anymore, or if it's a financial burden, a death in the family or something, do they start to look at selling the business. So what are some of the things that you recommend to do that, other than just building profits?
Well, the first thing that I recommend is have great books and records. Number one, don't take cash. If your business brings cash into the business, record all the cash that's coming into the business. Now, I'm sure there's some people that are gasping who own businesses and love the idea that they're taking cash out of the business. My take is very simple. Number one, it's illegal. Number two, you're never going to get that money back. You're much better off to use it for marketing in the business and grow the business. Third thing is, a prospective buyer wants to see pristine or as close to pristine books and records of the business that they're purchasing. So the first thing I'd say is have good books and records. And there's no excuse anymore with QuickBooks. The smallest business could be beautifully automated, record everything, and so that when the time comes that someone's looking at your business and they want to do the financial review, you're not handing them over pieces of paper in a shoebox. You're giving them, everything on a CD, and they're able to look at the financial books and records. So that's critically important, okay? Not taking cash out of the business, very important. The other thing is that I like to do is I keep in playing with you talked about earlier with a job description, is articulate and memorialize everybody's function, okay? And in other words, whatever's being done in the company, there should be a a proper policies and procedures and manuals for that particular position. So again, it can transition well. The other thing that I tell people that are looking to potentially sell the business is try to inject the business with some more excitement, because often people sell their business just because they're tired, as you said earlier. They've had it. It's running a business, whatever the reason is. They just had it. They want to move on to something else. Try to inject some energy back into the business.
So if you find a business that you're out there and you're looking and you see, boy, I'd like to buy that business, but it's not for sale. So what do you say to somebody that not for sale?
Every business is for sale. Some owners just don't know it yet. Every business is for sale.
So how do you approach those that aren't?
Well, the easiest way is to contact the seller directly. What I found sometimes that works and works quite well is if you have, you could use your attorney or an accountant and write the seller a letter directly. But you've got to be quite direct about it, because sellers, business owners get solicitations all the time from business brokers or what have you. So the ideal way, if it's a smaller business, you can approach the owner directly and just tell them you're very interested in their type of business. I don't want you to take this as the interest that I'm looking to overpay for the business, but I'm reasonable, and I'd like to talk to you about the idea of selling your business. Everybody will sell their business at the right price. That doesn't, again, mean that you should overpay or that you would overpay. It's just to start the dialogue. So if that dialogue is best by having a third party like an accountant or attorney write a letter, or yourself to write a letter.
So when you buy this business and you said, I've just said I'm going in, I bought this business, and I've made that decision whether it's the one that was for sale or wasn't for sale, and you got in and you said, well, you know what, I'm just going to make some wholesale changes. Is that a wise thing to do?
Yeah, if you want to lose your investment, it is. Yeah, I mean, in that case, I tell you, just take the money and stand on the bridge and throw it in the river, The thing that you need to do when you take over the business is you do nothing of any significance for the first 90 days if that's a reasonably successful business. If it's a business that's, failing and you've paid a price for a failing business, knowing that you have the skill to run it, that's a whole different set of circumstances, but that's not what, people typically purchase. Before you can make any changes to the business, you have to get the guts of that business into your, the guts of that business and understand it. You have to understand it intimately. You can't make it. You can't even hire an employee. You couldn't hire a manager. Get some people who say, I'm going to buy a business and put in a manager, and then going to buy another one and get in another manager. Well, you can't even hire a manager until you know how to run the business yourself, because how are you supposed to know who you should hire as the manager? So the first thing is no big changes, no changes of any significance.
Short of this being an acquisition strategy.
Pardon me?
Short of it being more of an acquisition strategy.
Correct. I mean, the most important thing is to get in there and learn the business as quickly as possible from the existing owner and get them out.
Well, and that kind of takes us into some of that due diligence, right? And what are some of the things that a business owner should look at for due diligence?
Well, there's two sides of this. The business owner, the individual selling the business, critically important. If there's people back out of deals because either A, the financials that you represented to the buyer are not close to what the reality is, or B, there's surprises that you haven't disclosed. Rest assured, anybody doing any reasonable level of due diligence on the business, if there's problems with the business, they're going to find out about them. So the best position for a seller is lay everything out on the table. Surprises, warts. Every business has problems, but lay them all out on the line. Explain them to the buyer. If there's anything that keeps you up at night about the business, disclose it to the buyer. Nothing should be hidden. Surprises kill deals. You can imagine if you're looking at buying a business, and all of a sudden out of left field you find out that one client represents 42% of the sales of the business, and the seller hasn't disclosed that. That's going to be an enormous cause for concern and could be reason enough for you to back out of the deal. Whereas if you tell them from the beginning, you have one client who's 42% of the business, but they've been a client of the business for 17 years, we have a contract with them, the products that we sell them, they can't get anywhere else, etc. That story and explanation is a whole lot better than someone coming in and then finding out that it's it's an incident that you could have talked about, but if you don't disclose it, it becomes a catastrophe.
Also, keeping some basic accounting and having very good records. So when you talk about that, you alluded to that a little bit earlier when you said don't give anybody a bag full of receipts and so forth. Basic accounting when buying a business consists of what in your mind?
Basic accounting is everything that all of the transactions of the business have to be on record. Number one, no cash. I mean, yes, it's true that a lot of small businesses have cash transactions and the sellers put it into their pocket, but buyers are not going to pay for what a seller cannot prove, number one. And sellers, you want to steal money from the business. I mentioned, A, it's illegal, but B, if you're getting to the point of selling the business and you know it's going to happen in a year from now, or you're going to put the business on the market in a year from now, put everything on the business, all the transactions, put them on the records of the business for at least a year, so you could demonstrate to the buyer, because they're not going to pay for phantom sales or profits.
Well, that's great.
Expect them to.
Richard, let's go ahead and take a break here. We'll come back and we'll finish up talking a little bit about the financial records and then closing the deal as we break here.
Okay, I'm Darrel Bowman, your IT professional,
and I'm Mel West, your business advisor. You're listening to Clay 1180.
CloudSway removes the hassle of small business financial management. Easily upload receipts, bills, invoices, POs, and other business expenses through your mobile device, email, or scanner. CloudSway automatically scans your data and matches each transaction to your bank and credit cards. Invite staff to send their corporate receipts, allowing the team to contribute and collaborate, managing all company financial data in one location. CloudSway's reports and alerts help to guard against fraud and expense abuse. CloudSway makes it easy to protect your company's most prized possession, its financial security. Visit cloudsway.com.
Few things say more about your business than the quality of the photos in your ads and on your website. Corporate photographer Rick Doms specializes in custom photography for discriminating corporations around the world and right here in Tacoma. Rick's photos have graced the pages of Forbes, Fortune, Barron's, the Wall Street Journal, and the marketing materials of a host of great American companies. Companies like yours. See what Rick Doms photography can do for your business on the web at rickdoms.com. RICKDAHMS.com.
AimBiz.com brings you the life of a business website. The majority of business websites can't be found by search engines, so their owners lose customers and money. An AIM business website wins new customers on Google and Facebook. Imagine your website with great content management, an integrated blog, clean designs, and clear messages. To top it off, at AimBiz.com, you get a free website design mock-up before you ever spend a dime. For more information, go to AimBiz.com. That's AIMBIZ.com.
Be a part of Tacoma's Waterfront Association, a dynamic organization dedicated to making Tacoma's waterfront a great place to visit and do business. Join them the second Wednesday of each month from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Crow's Nest at the Tacoma Yacht Club to hear exciting guest speakers and see what's happening on the waterfront. Be a part of the community strength. Make a difference along Tacoma's magnificent 46 miles of waterfront. For more information or to become a member of the Tacoma Waterfront Association, visit tacomawaterfront.org.
In Pierce County, 17% of residents are food insecure. That's 1 in 6 people who are unsure where their next meal is coming from. Someone you know is going hungry. What can you do about it? Help support Fish Food Banks of Pierce County. For every dollar received, Fish's 8 food bank locations can distribute $7 worth of food to families in need. To learn more about stopping hunger here in Pierce County, go to fishfoodbanks.org. That's fishfoodbanks.org.
Welcome back to BizTechTalk. I'm Darrel Bowman, your IT professional, here with
Mel West, your business advisor.
Hey, we're here with Richard Parker from Diomo, and we're talking about business valuation and buying and purchasing businesses. And before the break, we were talking about a number of things, but now we want to talk a little bit about...
Well, we were talking about financing, and I think that leads us right into talking about accountants and attorneys and using them in the process to close the deal.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about your recommendations on choosing a good accountant and an attorney and why you need them and what they're going to do for you.
Okay, well, the first thing is, you want to obviously choose an accountant and attorney who are experienced in small business transactions. Using your brother-in-law, the patent attorney, to help you close a business transaction is not the way to go. So someone who's well-versed in small business transactions. But at the same time, everyone needs to understand that bringing in professionals like accountants and attorneys, they have their role, they have their place. An attorney is not going to do the deal for you. We have a newsletter and a blog that goes out to a very substantial number of business buyers. I just wrote a whole series of articles on it that I do for BizQuest.com, and we talked about this specifically. Attorneys are used to scribe the transaction that you and the seller have agreed to. going to negotiate the deal for you. They're not going to make the deal for you. If anything, they could be more deal breakers than deal makers. Hire attorneys that are capable or competent and well versed in business transactions. But you bring them on when you and the seller have basically reached a general understanding of a purchase price and terms, so that they put it all into its legal form, make sure that you're adequately protected. The same thing with an accountant. An accountant is going to provide you with tax advice and making sure the deal is structured properly, but they're also going to play an enormous role during the formal due diligence when you have access to all the company's books and records. At the same time, you want to look at the company financials yourself, because if they don't make sense to you, they're not going to make sense to your accountant. I can promise you that. So before you start spending $200-300 an hour engaging an accountant to do the financial due diligence review, you as the buyer have to look at them. And
now, do you need a CPA, or are there people that aren't CPAs that have this skill set?
I'm sure there are, but I would always recommend using a CPA. Typically, when CPAs graduate from college, their first job is doing due diligence on businesses. So it's something that they're very well versed in, and especially ones that have done. If you're looking to buy a restaurant, for example, someone who's done a number of due diligence, on restaurants and speaking to people in your community, or an attorney can help you get an accountant, and vice versa. I would use a CPA, absolutely, because even from a tax perspective, they're going to be a much better help to you.
Now, this is kind of a catch-22, especially for those accidental entrepreneurs, because one of the things that they're concerned about is saving money and hiring a CPA, an accountant. It's going to cost them money. But one of the things that I've found when I'm working with businesses is that they don't know how to read their finances. So where does a potential buyer, where do they start?
Where do they get that information to help understand those financials?
Well, I always tell people that when Michael Eisner was appointed CEO of Disney, he didn't know how to read a balance sheet, and he's the first one to admit it. So it's anything that everybody can learn. I'm not trying to be any self-promotion, but understanding a balance sheet and a profit and loss statement are pretty simple. We do this whole lesson on basic accounting, and if you take a couple of financial statements from any particular business, and you sit with your accountant once or twice to go through them, and they'll explain them to you, and the flow of information, they typically follow a very regimented format from one business type to another. Revenue less expenses, your cost of goods sold, and gross margins less expenses, etc. And there's certain add backs, but they're from one business to the next. They're going to follow a pretty standardized form. So once you've looked at a few of them, they're going to start to make sense.
So we can definitely find that really quick and easily. And you've got a whole coursework on this thing, is what I understand. Correct. You've got a complete detailed outline of what you can do online at is that Diomo.com, Diomo.com?
Yeah, it's very easy for people to remember. It's the abbreviation for doing it on my own.
Oh, there we go. I like that. Doing it on my own.com. I like that.
Hey, real quick, just to finalize that is where do potential buyers get the money and stuff? We want to talk just briefly about that.
And especially in today's market, it's infinitely more difficult. They don't get it from the banks, I can promise you that, despite their wonderful advertisements. 91% of our clients get their deals financed through the seller. It's what's been done for 20-odd years, what we've been teaching and preaching for 20 years, and especially in today's economic climate, it's the reality. Sellers, not only does that provide a high degree of comfort to the buyer, and you do have to put down some money. Obviously, no one's giving away a good business without money.
But then if the buyer reneges or something like that, the seller gets it back.
The seller has a lien against the business, and the buyer basically has a lien against the seller, meaning that the leverage that they have, seller is going to represent the business differently, knowing that their could I say cojones are on the line?
Oh yeah, so they have skin in the game. That's good,
right? I mean, I've sold 9 of my businesses. I've always helped provided financing to the buyer.
So any
and that's the only way you're going to get a deal done today is through seller financing. SBA loans are a very small percentage of the market, even in the best of times. And banks don't lend money to anybody.
So even let's say post-purchase, and we got about 1 minute to talk about post-purchase priorities. So once you've purchased this thing, and now what are you thinking about?
Doing nothing significant except learning that business as quickly as you can. Just being a sponge. Having the seller there for a meaningful amount of time to provide training and learning every aspect of the business without lending, not thinking you're a smart ass to, making any significant changes, disrupting any employees. Learn all aspects of the business, from spending time in the shipping department to the accounting, anything and everything related to the business, because it's going to take you 90 days to understand the business. If a seller's been running it for 25 years, you're not going to learn it in 25 minutes.
That's fantastic. Well, and for more information, go to Diomo.com, and actually you have an online coursework there you can get.
And Diomo is DIOMO.
Yeah, doing it on my own. .com. So, hey, I got to thank you very much, Richard, for coming and joining us today. I really do appreciate that. I'm sure our listeners gained a lot from this, and your courses look pretty affordable too. So you have a download, and you can get the full versions mailed to you and all that. So. Yep. I think that's a great opportunity to go look at that and see what you can do. So we're going to break now, and before we go off and talk about, this is the 4th of July coming up, and we got to say, go out there and celebrate and enjoy, and
do it safely, though.
Do it safely, and let's make sure that all the houses in and around your neighborhood are still standing on the 5th, so your fireworks are safe and sane and not outrageous. And enjoy some great fireworks here in the communities and so forth. There's a lot of good things going on throughout the community, so you can...
and this is also an opportunity to thank our veterans, and seeking those out that have served us. But tomorrow, when you see a veteran, please thank them.
Yes, tell them, hey, thank you for your service. They'll appreciate it. I know I will. So thanks for joining us again. I'm Darrel Bowman, your IT professional on BizTechTalk.
And I'm Mel West, your business advisor. You're listening to Clay 1180. Thank you.
CloudSway removes the hassle of small business financial management. Easily upload receipts, bills, invoices, POs, and other business expenses through your mobile device, email, or scanner. CloudSway automatically scans your data and matches each transaction to your bank and credit cards. Invite staff to send their corporate receipts, allowing the team to contribute and collaborate, managing all company financial data in one location. CloudSway's reports and alerts help to guard against fraud and expense abuse. CloudSway makes it easy to protect your company's most prized possession, its financial security. Visit cloudsway.com.
Are you tired of maintaining or upgrading your business technology year after year just to keep up? Moore's Law states technology will keep getting faster and smaller year after year. Office N and Icon is making Moore's Law obsolete by giving you infinite computing power. It's always new with unlimited resources. It's fast, affordable, secure, reliable, and flexible with endless CPU, RAM, and hard drive. Never worry about a virus, upgrades, backups, or patches again. With Office N and Icon, your office is anywhere at any time from any device. Unleash your power at OfficeNandIcon.com.
I know you've been thinking about adding video to your website. Don't put it off any longer. Your customers are about 75% more likely to purchase your product after learning about it in a video. Gabe Medina Productions is ready to help you put a face to your business and show your customers why your company is the better choice. We want to work with you because we want to see your business grow. Go to GabeMedinaProductions.com or call 206-250-0735 for more info. That's 206-250-0735.
In today's economy, doing more with less has become the standard. Feeling overwhelmed or out of control does not have to be part of that standard. If you are looking for improved profitability and better teamwork, West Business Concepts' expertise in sales, organizational development, and finance offers real-world solutions today. West Business Concepts helps you develop clarity and focus on who matters most. Gain an edge over your competition. Visit westbusinessconcepts.com today. That's westbusinessconcepts.com.